Hello and welcome back to my show. Do I need to announce where you are and what you're listening to again? I don't think so. I have with me the lovely and talented Damaris Chambers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having
really
me.
appreciate it. And I'm so glad that I haven't butchered your name.
Me too.
And she was just saying I would never slap you live. And I'm like, it's cool. I'm kind of a masochist. I was having this conversation with somebody earlier. So
I'm nonviolent.
She's nonviolent though, which we're gonna talk about that.
Right.
We're not gonna talk about it because I'm gonna say you should be violent. We're just gonna talk about all of her awesome things that she's doing in the realm of uplifting people and being positive. So on that note, you are doing a lot of different things. You're an actor, you're a fitness model, athlete, and activist. So you're obviously just super awesome.
Well, thank
you. And busy AF, busy as fuck. So tell me a little bit about your journey and what came first.
Oh, okay. So what came first, interestingly enough, was fitness modeling. I worked in a higher-end athletic club in Baltimore, so I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And while I was working there,
Maryland represent.
Hey, go Ravens. So while I was working there, a membership rep that works there, she had connections with a fitness company that was up and coming in Baltimore.
What?
And so she saw me and knew that they were looking for some models for their website.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and so she was like, you need to do this. So she gave me the information. I gave them a call, and they booked me and hired me. And so I was on this website, and I did some fit modeling for them as well. And so that was kind of
what was the company?
Oh, you know what? I don't even remember what it was. It was back in 2000. Geez, it was 2010.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was kind of they were trying to be Under Armour, and then Under Armour came to Baltimore in the area that they were, and so they kind of dissolved.
Right.
But it was just an exciting experience for me because it gave me a lot of confidence that I did not have at that time.
Right.
Thinking that I was very insecure, thinking that, I really couldn't do anything that would be that big. And the fact that they saw me and they were like, yes, we want you. It just felt
right. And you weren't even pursuing the opportunity.
It wasn't even something I was pursuing. Exactly.
Well, it was probably a sign and the catalyst for many other things.
For sure. So I say that was the first kind of nod of, you have some pretty awesome things that you're going to do with your life. And so the next thing that I moved on to was acting.
Right.
I was heavily involved in my church back in Baltimore, and they had a drama team that we did a lot of, we call them slice of life dramas, where basically, typical churches might have the Jesus and the Nativity and things like that.
Right.
We did some really heavy, hard-hitting dramas, monologues and things like that of, divorce, people struggling with their singleness and things like that, kind of things that would really pierce someone's heart.
Yeah.
And so I started doing those things, and
that's awesome.
I loved it. I felt like I had awakened.
Found your purpose.
I had found my purpose. And it wasn't even because I was so awesome. It was because I was connecting with people.
Yeah.
And
I think it's really good that you touched on that, because it took me a really, really long time to feel like I was in a place of purpose and real intention. You know what I mean? It was so much about being the best.
Yes.
And being as good as I could be without really thinking about the grand why.
Right.
Why was I doing this?
Right.
What is my greater mission? I didn't have that.
The why piece is so vital, because when things start to really suck and things start to get really hard, if you don't have a why with what you're doing, you're going to stop. You're going to quit.
You're just going to stop.
Exactly. And so it's interesting because within acting, my why hadn't really developed back then. And so when things got hard, I started pursuing acting back in Baltimore, and things got difficult, and I quit.
Right.
I got really insecure. I got really down on myself and started kind of talking myself out of it. At that point, I didn't have a really big why.
How was it getting hard for you?
Well, it was Baltimore, and so
There's not a lot of
there's not a lot
opportunity
of opportunity. Exactly. And I did some extra work. I did some theater work. I did some short films and things like that.
Right.
But it wasn't something that really made me feel like I didn't have the full exhale that I was
Right.
looking for
Right.
in what I was doing. And so I kind of put acting to the side, and then I decided that I had struggled with body image and eating disorders for years. And I decided that I was going to finally fight it and finally kick it to the curb.
Right.
And within that was when I discovered fitness, and when I discovered my passion and my love for the sport of bodybuilding and powerlifting and getting strong AF.
So when you were younger, did you ever like think about sports and athletics in the way that you thought about it then, or had it just shifted because of what you had just been going through?
So when I was younger, I was involved in athletics. I played volleyball, I ran track, and within those time periods, I loved the sport. I loved the training and things like that were involved in getting better at the sport. But I played because I wanted to have validation from people.
Right.
And I needed people to tell me that I was good. I needed to do really well. And when I started not doing so well and I wasn't getting the validation, I quit.
Oh, I relate to that so much on so many levels. You have no idea.
It's a lot of us.
Perfectionism. It's just like that's really where it comes from.
Absolutely.
The need to be perfect. It's like there is no such thing. So, and I was looking through your Instagram photos. You know, a lot of what you're posting about food and stuff, and I feel like a lot of the Fitspo sometimes edges more to like teeny little portions and having very little caloric content. And I really think it's awesome how you show like, no, it's not about that. It's about like fueling yourself and being a powerful, strong vessel.
Exactly.
And, you know, and then you show your different exercises and stuff. When did you start doing these types of like the smorgasbord of like really awesome images, and how does it connect to your mission?
Well, I started when I started my fitness journey, basically my fitness influencer journey, I would call it. I'm a person that does a lot of research, and I found this diet that was labeled If It Fits Your Macros back then when I first started. And I was like, what is this? Like,
I don't know. Like I've heard about like, you know, macronutrients and stuff, but I don't really know that much about it.
Right. And then I started to research it deeply, and that was kind of on the cusp of when I was really trying to heal my relationship with food. I attribute If It Fits Your Macros to how I have healed my relationship with food. So basically, the whole premise of the quote-unquote diet is that there are no good foods and there are no bad foods. And that is a lot of what I post on my social media platforms, is there are no good foods, there are no bad foods. There are optimal foods for your goals.
Right.
And then there are not as optimal foods for your goals, but it's all depending on your goal and what you're trying to achieve. And so
why is it important to remove those words?
It's so important to remove those words because if you're eating something and you're telling yourself, this is so bad, this is so bad, this is so bad, this is so bad, your body literally is not going to digest it very well because you're already putting stress into your body because of what you're telling yourself about that food. And also it creates a sense of freedom, because when we restrict ourselves from quote-unquote bad foods, 9 times out of 10 it leads to us binging, and then there's this cycle of restricting our foods, then binging, then beating ourselves up again, then punishing ourselves by restricting again, then binging again, and so you're stuck in this cycle.
And our brains act in a very rewards based type of fashion. It's like, you know, even if say you're working on something online, you're like, oh my god, it would be so bad if I open up this and I did that. And then you do it, and then it's just like, you know, you're going to keep doing it. Like maybe you're just having your phone open. It's like that little like reward cycle, but it's, you know, it just leads to greater stress.
Exactly. And fears too. We fear things that are unknown, that we don't know anything about. So when you educate yourself about nutrition, and that's what I've done through counting macronutrients, and your macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates, and then your micronutrients are your vitamins, your minerals,
right,
and your fibers. So when you educate yourself about food, you see that bread isn't bad, it's just a carbohydrate. And you see the properties within the bread and within the carbohydrate and how it affects your body.
I mean, of course, like certain processed breads and foods are not, as you would say, optimal.
Exactly.
Yes.
You might not feel as good while you're eating it, but you can literally get shredded off of donuts and Pop-Tarts. I would not recommend it because your health will suck.
Yeah.
It's not a great approach.
High nutrition content.
But when you're counting your macros and you're counting your calories and you're, consuming foods within a limit that you've set for yourself in order to reach a goal that you've set, it really doesn't matter how you fill it. I choose, and the people that I coach and talk to, I tell them to fill your foods, your macronutrients with whole foods, foods that are going to make you feel better.
Clean. What do you think about the terminology of clean eating, clean foods? Do you think that is kind of like veers into the good food, bad food type of mentality, but it's just, a different way of directing it?
Absolutely. I don't agree with the term clean foods.
Because I always say that. I mean, I just don't ever think anything about it, but I will say sometimes I'm like, I'll see someone eating something really gross. I'm like, oh, well, I am a clean eater, and I'm just like, oh, that sounds kind of elitist.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It makes you feel like you're putting yourself on this higher pedestal when literally you're just eating food. Food is food. We
but
put these
some taste a lot better than others.
Some taste a lot better than others, and some makes you feel a lot better than others. There's whole foods, and then there's processed foods.
Right.
Those are real terms because those are actually what the foods have either not gone through or gone through. But there's no such thing as a clean food and a dirty food. It's just ridiculous.
I love it. I really you're giving me so much food for thought. I had to say it, and I appreciate it. I know. So I thank you so much. We're going to dig in more when I bring back Kenyon for our roundtable conversation.
Great.
So stay tuned, everybody.